Bowl is awarded to that member of the alumni community who has tirelessly and loyally supported the school through their thoughtful and exemplary service and dedication as a volunteer. Our school thrives today due to the support and care of our alumni. And today I have the distinct honor of awarding the 2019 Alumni Bowl to Ashley Whiteman Scott, a member of the class of 1984. Ashley's connection to Brooks started long before she enrolled here as a student. She's the daughter of former trustee Sage Whiteman, class of 1958, who sadly passed away recently. Her children, Lily and Liza, are in the class of 2011 and 2014, respectively. Thus, she has known the school from virtually every vantage point: child of an alum, student, alum, parent, and trustee. Perhaps a place on the faculty will be next. While a student in the early 1980s, Ashley played field hockey and tennis, in addition to participating in the dance program. She was a member of the Art Association, Brooks Brothers and Sisters, Chapel Council, Phillips Brooks Society, Student Government, and Yearbook. Associate Director of College Counseling Katie Fretwell said of Ashley when she was in the sixth form, and I quote, "Ashley is everything she appears to be: vivacious, attentive, and in possession of an omnipresent aura of energy," end quote. All who have enjoyed the privilege of working with her during her 10 years as a trustee would argue that these words still apply. After attending the University of Colorado for 2 years, Ashley moved to New York City to attend the School of Visual Arts. She subsequently pursued a career in interior design and currently owns Niles Scott Interiors with past Brooks School parent Kara Niles. As a parent at Brooks herself, Ashley was a constant on the sidelines of games, at all parent events, leading parent fundraising efforts, and even hosting countless numbers of team dinners. She's been a tireless volunteer on behalf of the school through a wide variety of roles: 10 years on the Board of Trustees, class chair, class correspondent, reunion chair, parents committee member, phone-a-thon participant, admission volunteer, and reception host. She's truly worn every volunteer hat our school has to offer and takes on each role with the same level of commitment and passion. Yet the most notable of all these roles was her most recent and tireless effort to steer the school in the direction of meeting our $60 million goal with the Campaign for Brooks. As campaign chair, she played a key role in allowing the school to take important steps forward in a number of critical areas: the renovation of this Ashburn Chapel, the construction of Anna K. Trustee Memorial Field, the construction of our Center for the Arts, the pedestrianizing of Main Street, an increase in our faculty professional development support, the highest level of financial aid support the school has ever achieved, a strong Brooks Fund through all 5 of the campaign years. Ashley was a constant figure on campus throughout the campaign, frequently stopping by for status updates and strategic prep work ahead of board meetings. And her willingness to go anywhere and meet anyone propelled us through as successful a fundraising initiative as any the school has ever had. While she has left the board and gives her time and support to a range of educational and conservation organizations, she continues to care for and support Brooks in any way she can. How fortunate the school has been to have her in its corner. President of the Board of Trustees, Steve Gorham, class of 1985, shared the following, and I quote, "With the lofty goals we had set for the Campaign for Brooks, there was no better leader for the effort than Ashley, who tirelessly worked to bring people together to hear about all of the wonderful things happening at school. As a result of her efforts and generosity, we were able to secure commitments to the campaign that allowed us to achieve our goals. We are grateful for her time, talent, and treasure," end quote. At an event in the Center for the Arts in January, when we thanked Ashley for her work on the campaign, I shared her words from a campaign video aimed at drumming up support. She said, and I quote, "Every time I walk on this campus, I have happy memories. It brings me back. It makes me happy." So if the question is why should you make Brooks your #1 philanthropic priority, my answer would be, come take a walk around and you'll know why, end quote. Ashley's connection to Brooks is deep, and her belief in the school inspires others. This has been so throughout her life, and what a great match she and Brooks have been. For these many reasons, and on behalf of the Alumni and Advancement Office, I'm honored to present this year's Alumni Bowl to Ashley Whiteman Scott, class of 1984.
I'm honored and grateful, and John beat me to it a little bit about just a few short words I was going to make regarding my family members who have been at school here. This weekend would have marked my father's 61st. It's my 35th, my elder daughter's 8th, and my youngest child's 5th reunion. And if any mathematics skills still serve me, that means that members of my Whiteman and Scott family have had 109 reunions at this school to celebrate. It's a big number. And I'm very proud of it. So with my family members, I thank you very much. It's been an honor to do and be a part of any work here. And sadly, I lost my father just last week. So this is for you.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. Our next award is the Alumni Shield, which recognizes an alumna or alumnus who graduated from Brooks less than 25 years ago and has made significant contributions in the field of his or her endeavor. The Alumni Board has named James Timothy O'Connor, member of the class of 1999, this year's recipient of the Alumni Shield Award. Through his position as an investment advisor, Jim promotes economic growth and foreign direct investment into Afghanistan and advances climate change mitigation and adaptation with a variety of governments, banks, and private financial institutions. In Afghanistan, he's working with the United States and Afghan governments to promote economic growth and development in key industries identified by the Afghan government, with a focus on promoting exports and trade ties in Central and South Asia and the Middle East. In climate finance, he's working with emerging markets and developing countries' governments and private sector banks to promote investment in climate change mitigation and climate change adaptation. For example, he's working with the Chilean government to design a green investment platform to address the financing gaps faced by small companies and vulnerable populations. He's working with the Mexican government and banking sector to integrate climate change considerations into their financing operations. And he is also working with the Mozambican government to understand deal structure and how to incentivize and mobilize private capital to develop clean energy resources. While on campus, Jim excelled in school and was a strong history student. Former faculty member Michael McCahill once said of Jim, and I quote, "He is a good historian because he revels in its nitty-gritty. He easily identifies, masters, and retains important detail. Equally important, he is adept at making sense out of that detail, sense out of even difficult theoretical material, end quote. Beyond the academic day, he made time for a range of additional activities, including lacrosse, soccer, theater, and a wide array of friends who continued to be some of his closest. Jim continued his studies at Georgetown University after Brooks, where he received a bachelor's degree in business administration, and at Boston University's School of Management, where he earned his MBA. His classmate Nicole Carosella says of him, and I quote, "Jim is one of the kindest, smartest, and most thoughtful people I have ever had the pleasure of knowing. In the 20 years since we've graduated from Brooks School, I've watched him continuously challenge himself, both educationally and professionally. He creates real change in the world through his work with different governments and countries. Jim is an intellectual force with a huge heart. The world is a better place because of him, and Brooks should be very proud to call him an alumnus," end quote. On that final point, we certainly are. For his sustained and ongoing commitment to helping others around the world, I'm honored to present James Timothy O'Connor, class of 1999, with the 2019 Alumni Shield Award.
Thank you. That was really humbling to hear the quotes from Nicole and Mr. McCahill. I'm so thankful for this recognition, and it's just wonderful that you nominated me, Nicole. Thanks, Mr. Packard, and thanks to everybody. I'm really, really honored, like I said, to receive this award. I remember Reverend Kogan speaking from this platform so many times and telling us that to whom much is given, much is expected. And I had an idea that I was given a lot, but I didn't know what was expected of me. Brooks was an important part of me discovering that. My experience at Brooks brought me to a much more diverse campus than I would have had if I'd stayed in Andover. And, you know, I think that we are all very lucky in life, and including the chance to attend this school. This place was such an important part of my experience, as I mentioned. I didn't even really realize it at the time, how so many things about Brooks would change me. I knew that I had been given much, but again, I was trying to find out what was expected of me. This was something that really resonated with me because of my family, who are right here. My incredible parents, my incredible aunt, my grandparents, they all worked to understand their talents and use those talents in different ways to serve the world. And that's what I have been doing my whole career, is trying to discover what I'm good at and then using that to help others. It can be frustrating at times, particularly working in Afghanistan. There's a lot of insurgency and political unrest, but at the end of the day, I feel so fulfilled because of the work that I get to do there. I'm really lucky to do this work and serve the most vulnerable people on earth. So yeah, I think that's where I'll end it. But But I really appreciate this award, and it's really nice to get the recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And now, the Distinguished Brooksian Award. The Distinguished Brooksian Award is reserved for members of our alumni community whose life and contributions to society exemplify the nobility of character and usefulness to humanity embodied in the spirit of the school. The first Distinguished Brooksian Award was given to Frank D. Ashburn in 1991. The list of subsequent recipients since then is similarly impressive, including this year's Distinguished Brooksian, Esmond Bradley Martin, Jr., class of 1959. Through his life's work to eliminate the trade of rhino horn and elephant ivory, Martin personified many of the core values we hold ourselves accountable to and celebrate here at Brooks, among them empathy, integrity, and passion. His moral center was beyond reproach, and his commitment to social responsibility in doing what was right was absolute. Thus it is with a heavy heart that I present this award posthumously, as Martin was murdered in February 2018 at the Kenyon house he built with his wife and research partner Chrissy back in 1967. His credentials and resume would reveal that Martin was a researcher and conservationist who actively fought to protect numerous animal species. Indeed, he authored a substantial number of groundbreaking reports on rhino and ivory smuggling and trade from African nations into countries including China, Vietnam, Laos, and the United States. These reports were instrumental in curbing illegal wildlife trafficking and made him a hero in the conservation world. The hard data his research produced informed many decisions aimed at more effectively protecting endangered species. His manner of gathering data was most unconventional. He often went deep undercover, meticulously documenting and photographing illegal sales of ivory and rhino horn, all in secret to the surrounding merchants. Sharply dressed with what a co-worker described as a shock of white hair, Martin would hide in plain sight as an affluent shopper for illicit ivory and rhino horn. Through his persona, he was able to gather important information regarding the practices of these traders. He once noted, and I quote, "The only people who have the information I want are traders. I make a special effort to meet them and to socialize with them. I've been attacked for spending time with people when they are crooks, but where else do I get the information?" End quote. It perhaps goes without saying that Martin's work was extremely dangerous. His brother Peter wrote, and I quote, that during one of his trips to Yemen, researching the illicit trade of rhino horn for the fabrication of handles intended for the local men's de rigueur dagger called jambia, which has been going on for 2,000 years, he nearly lost his life. At 3 o'clock in the morning, his hotel phone rang, and the caller told him that he wouldn't leave the hotel alive. To get out of the hotel safely, he disguised himself as a woman wearing a balto, the black garment that covers one from head to foot. That incident wasn't the only threat to his life during his clandestine monitoring of rhino horn traffic in Yemen. He ultimately decided, after finding he was flagged by the authorities, that the risks were too great to personally carry on field work in that hazardous country. Instead, he began promoting alternative materials as a substitute for rhino horn. Water buffalo horn proved the most successful, and now nearly 100% of jambia handles are made from that material, end quote. Martin's interest in animals and agriculture date back to his childhood on Long Island. While at Brooks, he maintained these interests, in addition to serving as a school prefect and playing soccer, squash, and tennis. After graduating in 1959, he earned his bachelor's degree in economics at the University of Arizona, as well as his master's degree and PhD in geography from the University of Liverpool. Martin kept in touch with Brooks throughout his life as an alum, thoughtfully including the school on his Christmas card list and sending along detailed notes of life in Africa with Chrissy, often with photos of the couple and elephants, cheetahs, and even their pet warthog. At the time of his murder, local police deemed it a robbery gone wrong. This was not unlike conclusions drawn in the past regarding the murders of other animal activists, such as Diane Fossey, Wayne Lauder, and Joy Adamson. Thus, there is a notion that the act that took Martin's life was premeditated, as his research actively threatened the illicit organizations that profited from wildlife trafficking. Martin's research partner, Lucy Veen, noted, and I quote, "Brooks School must be proud of encouraging a young boy to develop such a passion for discovery and learning throughout his life. Now his legacy lives on, with many more involved in curtailing the illegal rhino horn and ivory trade, and aware of the need to secure the future of wildlife on our planet," end quote. All of us at Brooks concur, and I'm proud to posthumously name Edmund Bradley Martin, Jr., class of 1959, the Distinguished Brooksian. I invite his sixth form roommate and classmate, Tony Milbank, to come forward to receive the award on behalf of Martin's family, co-workers, and friends.
This will be tough. I didn't realize how much I appreciated the chapel that we attended every day of the week. But the opening hymn reminded me and woke me up to that wonderful experience. I never tired of it. I left that seat vacant for Esmond. I didn't realize how pedestrian my tastes were until Esmond would remind me repeatedly how poor the food was at Brooks School. But he was a remarkable person, and I am delighted that I am able to receive this on behalf of his widow, Chrissy. He turned his back on a very easy life that he was born into. And he told me about how he would go down to the shore in Mombasa. And that's when he discovered the ivory trade and how pervasive it was. So he was a professor also at the University of Nairobi. And he described where he lived, overlooking one of the game preserves on the outskirts of Nairobi. And it sounded like an idyllic life. And clearly, he took it a step way beyond that. What you learn from the headmaster is all true. He gathered data in every way he could on this horrendous trade. And he provided it to the UN and became really the main source of information for the UN in trying to curb this trade. When I learned of his death, I contacted a friend of mine in Uganda and I said, "Did you know Esmond?" "I knew of him," he said. And I also knew his colleague in Tanzania who was also targeted and killed. Esmond did not sing his praises. He was a remarkably understated human being. And I feel incredibly privileged and honored to have known him.
Okay. Well, again, thank you all for being here this afternoon and evening. We'll try to maybe take a few pictures outside, given that it's such a nice day, and then make our way to the tent for the evening's festivities. Thank you all.